All right. Looks like a lot of people are connected to the audio, so I can start my welcome spiel now. Hello, I am Vander Gak. I am Northeast SARE's communications person. I use they, them pronouns. I am in Bethel, Vermont. I am super excited to welcome you all here to our first in the series of Farmer Grant 2025 Q&A sessions. And we've got some Northeast SARE staff here. We've got a welcome poll that I'll be launching in just a moment. We're going to ask if you could just fill that out while we're waiting for folks to file in. We're going to open with a kind of presentation on the program overall, and then we're going to move into a questions section. And when we do that, it's really a great opportunity to build community understanding. So follow-ups greatly encouraged. The more this can be a conversation, the better. We're so excited that you are interested in applying for this program. With that, I'm going to launch this welcome poll here, and Northeast SARE staff, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Candice Huber, and I manage the Farmer Grant and the Partnership Grant programs, and I will be leading the question and answers today. And
Yep. Hey, folks. My name's Emma. I'm the grant program specialist with Northeast SARE, which means I support Candice and our other grant program admins in running our grants, and I'll be here to take notes. We'll take down a copy of all of the questions and answers. It'll be anonymous. We won't say who asked the questions, and then that gets posted to our website. So you can return to that at a later date, and you'll be able to see it there. I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's construction going on at my house. So I apologize for the noise, and I'll probably stay on mute from here on out.
great. Any other housekeeping, Vander?
I believe we're good.
All right. Well, thank you, Vander and Emma, for your help today. And welcome everyone to our lunchtime question and answer session for Farmer Grants. I'm Candice Huber, as I said, and I manage the Farmer Grant and Partnership Grant programs for Northeast SARE. And I'm coming to you today from Whiting, Vermont, the ancestral and unceded lands of the Western Abenaki peoples. So as you all know, we're currently accepting proposals for the Farmer Grant program until November 12th. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Had this all set up and now everything's moved around on my monitor. And I have a little presentation just to start out with, just to get your thoughts flowing about the program, and then I'll just take specific questions that people have, or I can continue on and just start explaining things. Can you all see that? My PowerPoint, great. So this is the 2025 Northeast SARE Farmer Grant Program. Even though we're still in 2024 now, the awards will be made in 2025. And you can find our call for proposals on our website. It has all of the information that you need to know in order to submit a proposal. It will tell you what you need in order to be eligible, how the program works, and then specific questions that you will be asked to complete for the proposal itself. And the proposal is submitted online, and the deadline is 5 p.m. sharp on November 12th, 2024. That's an automatic cutoff driven by the system. So you need to be sure to get it in by 5 p.m. First, just a little bit about SARE. SARE stands for Sustainable Agriculture, Research, and Education. It's a federally funded program through USDA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And there are 4 regions, of which we are the Northeast, and we serve these states here and the District of Columbia. So the Farmer Grant is one of 6 competitive grant programs that we have. And the first criteria is that you work in this Northeast region. Now, I just want to mention here also that we have another program called the Partnership Grant Program. It's very similar, but the applicant is not the farmer. It's someone who works with farmers. And so that's where the partnership comes in. So if you're listening and you're not a farmer, but you want to work with one, then the partnership grant would be the one for you. And the deadline for that program is next April. And you can find out more about that on our website. But I would encourage you to still continue to listen to the farmer grant information, because maybe you have farmers that you can encourage to apply this fall. So these are just the basics of the farmer grant program, and I can go into more detail, but first I'm going to see what specific questions people have. But let me go over these basics. Farmer grants are for commercial producers who have an innovative idea that they want to test. And the projects should seek new knowledge that other farmers can use and address questions that improve the sustainability of farms. A technical advisor must be involved, and the maximum amount of funds you can request is $30,000. Now you'll need to put together a detailed, realistic budget, and it's important to note that funds are paid on a reimbursement basis, so you or your farm need to be able to manage the expenses. Projects typically run from 1 to 2 or 3 years. Maximum amount is 3 years. Contracts would begin March 1st, 2025. And applicants may only submit 1 proposal per year per program. And the deadline again is November 12th, and the proposals are submitted online in our online system. And again, the details for applying can be found on our website on our call for proposals. I also wanted to mention here our outcome statement, because the main goal of the program is to help other farmers in the region. So for your proposal to be competitive, you want to demonstrate that your project will benefit sustainable agriculture. And you can use our outcome statement to address that. And that is, Northeast agricultural communities honor the holistic connection among land, water, air, and all living beings. Agriculture in the Northeast is accessible, sustainable, and just, addressing historic and current inequities so all farmers and farm employees can steward resources to ensure sustainability, resilience, economic viability, and a high quality of life. So at this point, I would like to open it up for specific questions anybody might have. I'll stop sharing for a moment, take a look at the chat. And you can feel free to raise your hand. Adam, you can go ahead first, but you can also put your questions in the chat. And I did also want to mention that if it's something you want to ask specific about your project, but you're not sure you want to share details about your project with a large group, you can absolutely email me separately, and I'd be happy to respond offline, off the public portion of this. Adam Snowden?
Yes, good afternoon. I wanted to know what's the pool of money that is being made available?
Mm-hmm. Yep, this year we have our administrative council has allocated $850,000 to the program. And typically it's about 30 proposals. Some years we get up to 90 proposals, but so can be very competitive. Some years maybe we'll only get 50 proposals. Lately it's been more on the higher side. So I would say just keeping that in mind, we definitely still shoot for about 30 proposals, and some people don't request the whole $30,000. So it can be, if that's why it does vary. I do see another question in the chat that what is the definition of a commercial farmer? Yes, well, we have a document on our website called Definition of a Farm, and that could be a farm, and you can be a farm owner, sorry, or a farm employee. And if you're a farm employee, there's a form that you'll need to submit with that will be authorized by the farm owner so that you can so that we know that the farm is willing to handle the financial aspect of it. And you can also be a farm employee on a farm that's owned by a nonprofit institution, nonprofit organization, or an institution. It's but again, we would need confirmation from the authorized official that they stand behind the project. So to be a farmer, to be eligible as a farmer, a commercial farmer, you need to make $1,000 or more of agricultural products that are sold, produced and sold, or normally would have been sold during the census year. So normally would have been sold is important because the USDA, this is actually the USDA definition, and it recognizes that some farms experience low sales in maybe a particular year due to bad weather, disease, changes in strategies, or any other factors. So it's forgiving in that way. And you need to have made that $1,000 in the year previous to the application due date. So if you're a brand new farmer and you're pretty sure you're going to make over $1,000 next year, we still need for you to have had that year of experience first. Any questions specific to that before I go on? That's usually a important piece that people want to make sure they have right.
This is Eli. I have my hand raised as well. I have a question specifically about this, if I could.
Sure.
So last year was we're doing basically a small scale farm at a veteran hospital. So it's kind of we're a nonprofit as well. So our first year was establishing. Now in our second year, we were still just kind of donating to the kitchen staff and donating to our volunteers and surrounding stuff. We didn't really sell anything. Now we're going into our third year and we're moving into specializing in garlic for this next year. So we're going into our third year of technically operating at this facility, but we haven't actually gone to market to produce because we've just been building infrastructure and learning. So that was my question. Are we even eligible for this if we haven't shown that yet?
Mm-hmm. So donations and bartering, some organizations, some communities work off of bartering systems. So it doesn't actually have to be sales, but you do need some sort of record that like if you've been keeping track of how much you've been donating and it's been over $1,000, then you'd be eligible.
Yeah, so we have track of our donations of people putting towards our cause and helping us do everything as a nonprofit. So we do have records of donations being received and things like that.
Oh, I mean the donations that you are making, the food that you're donating, or the products that you're donating.
I got you. It's like to keep records of who we're basically giving it to, even if there's not a financial
and how
transaction.
much. Yeah.
Okay.
How much you're actually providing through donations in a dollar amount. Quantify it in dollar amount.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I'll have to think about that and see, because we've definitely given it, but we didn't know about this type of opportunity to even track it in that way. So okay.
Yeah, so if you still, there's still maybe some time for you to put that together, or you could apply next year. Now there are a lot of questions coming in around this in the chat, so I'm gonna probably address a bunch of them right now, but I probably missed something. So somebody asked about
thank you, by the way. Thank you.
Oh yeah, sure thing, Eli. And if your questions don't get answered today, feel free to contact me directly. What kind of financial documents do you need to support past sales? You don't need any financial documents. We trust you that when you submit your application, you're basically signing off on verification that you meet the definition of a farm. So we trust you in that. Let's see, Emma did provide in the chat the link to the document that explains the definition of a farm, or what we call the definition of a farm, but it just about eligibility as a farmer. And so you could look at that there. And I think as far as the definition of a farm, I've caught all the questions in the chat. I see some other questions. And we'll go up there. And will it pay to create equipment for processing that can be used by other farmers? Now, I do see that, okay, so will it pay for, we will pay for equipment that is essential to the project. And if it's equipment that you're developing for other farmers, we would pay for the supply materials for that. If it's equipment that can be used by other farmers, and you don't have it and you don't need it right now, but in order to do the project, you need it, then we would prorate the amount. So anything that's over about $1,000, if it's a piece of equipment that will be able to be used after the project is done, we would need to prorate that, meaning that typically agricultural equipment has a useful life of 5 years. And that's based on IRS guidelines. And so if you have, if your project, say, is 2 years long, we could pay for 2 out of 5 of those years, so 40% of that cost of that piece of equipment. And again, it needs to be a piece of equipment that you would not need if you weren't doing the project. We can't pay for something that you would be using anyway in normal operating costs.
Can
It can get
I'm the one
tricky.
who asked, I'm the one who asked the question. It's Anna Hackman. I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm an herb farmer, and
Oh.
I am paired with Lehigh University. And one of the biggest hurdles that herb farmers have, Rodale has identified it as well with me, is that we don't have processing equipment that is making us cost effective. So I've been doing this over 7 years. I'm not a new farmer. It's not a new project, but without it, I'm gonna go under. So I need to help other herb farmers Northeast and me so that we have a competitive hold in the herbal value added space. And so that's what Lehigh and I were talking about working together. So it would be something that would be used afterwards. It isn't a project like using it to make, a project like, oh, it's part of growing hibiscus. It's not that way. It's actually making me sustainable financially, as well as the other herb farmers. It's like going around all the herb farmers. We're in trouble. So
Right.
I'm
So is
stepping
it like an equipment equipment sharing kind of?
No, we're gonna try and make something that somebody can put together themselves, or
Okay.
with
Yep.
the directions. It's got to be low cost. They can't afford. I wish
Got
we
it.
could do equipment sharing. We're all over the country.
So you'll be developing a product. You'll be developing
Yes,
equipment.
but does
Yes.
that still
And
have
is,
that same?
yep.
Is that still the same thing? Like, go ahead. I'm
so
sorry.
that we would pay for the materials needed for that for you in order for you to be able to develop that product, that piece of equipment. We would pay for the materials. We'd pay for your time to, figure it all out. And you would be required to provide, and I'm sure it sounds like you would be putting together a guide maybe on how to make this if it's successful.
Yep.
So you'd be developing a product and then testing it to see if it does what you want it to do. And that's all eligible expenses.
Right, and also I probably would want to get it to regional herb farmers to get feedback if they feel this is a doable thing, because I do my process different than them, and I am in a mastermind group of other herb farmers. So, but at the end of let's say it's a 3-year project, which God, I hope it won't be. Does that mean you only will fund 3/5 of the cost of the quote machine, or that is not a machine at that point?
No, because since it's a machine that you are creating or developing, then we would pay for the full price.
Okay. And
if you were
last question,
buying if you were buying a machine that exists and that other farmers use and that you could sell after the project was done, then we'd only pay for 3/5 of it.
Is also the last question is that I noticed that you need a technical advisor.
Mhm.
Does it have to be an ag agent with your state, or can it be in the case of Lehigh? They're actually offering to work with me, Lehigh University.
It can be pretty much anyone, your technical advisor. Reviewers will be looking to see that your technical advisor has the appropriate experience and knowledge to be able to help you with your project, whether it's experience and knowledge in executing the project, or in developing the project, or in say you're doing so for you, it would be helpful to have a technical advisor who is maybe an agricultural engineer. Or it could be another farmer who's really good at making equipment, who has a track record of coming up with some successful designs. So it can be anybody, as long as they have the appropriate knowledge and experience. And I can talk a little bit more about technical advisors a little bit down the road. I don't want to get too far off topic at this moment, because I saw David Lane, you have your hand up, and you also had a question in the chat, I think, about the definition of a farmer. So while we're still on that topic, if you have something.
Yes, thank you. So I submitted a farmer grant proposal last year for wild nectar mead. So I make alcohol with all local honey, but I don't produce the honey myself. And I just moved locations 2 Aprils ago. Before that, I owned a farm with that same business, and I could prove the $1,000 in sales at that old location, but then I moved last year, and it was my first year at this location, and I didn't have $1,000 sales last year. So I guess my question is, does that fall under the category of farming, or being a commercial farm, if you're essentially manufacturing a value-added product from local farms? Like, I buy honey from local farmers and then I make mead and sell it. Is that considered farming or no?
It doesn't sound like it. So if I'm understanding correctly, you don't produce any of the honey.
No.
You're just processing it into mead.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and
so in order to be a farmer, you need to produce and sell the products from on your farm. Now, you would be available for a partnership grant in the spring, and your partners would be the farmers who you're buying honey from, or a farmer who you're buying honey from.
Okay.
So you could apply for a partnership grant, but you wouldn't be eligible as a farmer.
Okay. I was just curious because I have a farm meadery license, and the term farm just gets thrown around a lot, and I wasn't sure if it qualified. I'll consider the partnership grant. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
And let your farmers know about this program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will.
Tyler Krasuski?
Hello. So I specialize in native plant food crops, and am working on a bunch of different projects with a lot of farmers in the area, collecting some of the old historical, they're not really named cultivars, but they're like scions and things from trees that John Hershey and the USDA in the 70s had collected from all over the East Coast. So creating these new kind of native food crop cultivars is obviously a very long, can be a long process. And I'm trying to figure out, like, if there's a way this program can support that work beyond, like, there is equipment and things like that, but on the kind of plant breeding side itself in developing these varieties. So I had heard, someone had told me before that longer term projects like that are just really hard to get grant funding for. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain there.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, what you're looking for, you're looking to do some breeding and testing for these native plants in there. I'm not sure what kind of plants, if they're herbs or vegetables or.
Yes, they're like persimmons, plums,
Okay.
things like that. And
Oh, yeah. So
because people have been doing it like anecdotally for a while, but no one's been like measuring the weights and the sugar content and all of that. So that's really what I'm trying to like publish and share more widely.
Yeah, So you're exactly right. It is hard for these longer term projects. So when you're talking with trees and stuff, it takes so long for them to get established and then produce that. That's a to be really get the full picture of how they're working. That's a hard time frame, because our grants we're funded by the USDA NEFA, and so we get a big pool of money from them that we then distribute through the University of Vermont. And that pool of money that the federal government gives us is a 5-year agreement. And so on either end of that, there's administrative costs, and that's why our projects can only be 3 years long. And so that is a tight window for something like what you're talking about, but we can fund pieces of it. Like if you want to do some trials about, breeding and the success as far as germination and getting it to seedling stage, that's fine. Or if you've got data on stuff that you've already planted and you want to, measure the harvests and quality and stuff like that, then that's another way to go. So does that kind of help you out, or
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, hadn't thought about breaking it up into different stages, so that was helpful. Thank you.
I saw a question about if you received a grant in the past, are you eligible to apply again? Yes, absolutely. And if it's something that builds off of your previous project, reviewers love to see that. It builds the story, and we love to see successes and then improvements on them even further. So yes, that you're absolutely eligible to apply again. Should collaborators submit letters of support? Yes, definitely. If anybody is going, especially if they're going to be paid off of the grant, reviewers will want to see what what their qualifications are, what their level of commitment is, and make sure that they understand their role in the project. So yes, collaborators should definitely submit letters of support, as will your technical advisor need to submit a letter of support. And we will get more to technical advising, I'm sure. I just want to make sure I cover all these questions. If a nonprofit is, Jennifer Trice, I'm looking at your question right now. If a nonprofit is beginning an urban ag project, excuse me, or farm, so this project can only exist if the farm is already existing. Yes. Jennifer, did you want to expand on that?
So the question is this, if I have an urban ag farmer in another location, they are in business and they would like to help a nonprofit that's starting an urban ag project down here on the lower shore, would they qualify? They would have to do it instead of the nonprofit, because the nonprofit is not an existing farm, but this farmer has this experience under her belt. So she could apply for that. Hypothetically, I could be the technical advisor and we would go at it from that angle, correct?
Yes, Jennifer, what's your role in the scenario?
Oh, I'm a small farm. I'm a field agent under the small farm program here at UMES.
Okay,
so
great.
I help serve, urban ag, underserved communities, minority farmers, etc. So this would be this farmer taking their expertise and their success from what we've helped create up there, bringing it down to another underserved area here on the lower shore. And then also keep, records of how much this costs, so that we could sort of do a proof of concept to continue that in the other 3 counties down here, hypothetically.
Okay, yes, so that's a really important part. So the farmer is eligible to apply. You could apply for a partnership grant to work with the farmer and the nonprofit in the spring. But for the farmer grant, it would need to be the existing farmer applying. And the important piece in your scenario is that you will be creating a model of some sort to use for other organizations or to use, because we do not fund the establishment of an enterprise. So we wouldn't just fund We wouldn't just, it would not be a competitive proposal if it was simply to just start up a farm on a nonprofit. There would need to be something about it that, where there's a real need that could, for information that could help other farmers, other areas.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of a two-pronged thing. So this farmer's had success in Washington, DC. And so bringing them down here to open this urban ag site within Cambridge, not just showing them how to start that, but having it work with a new packing house, commercial kitchen. So it's a community commercial kitchen to provide value added. So this one farmer is essentially bringing what she's learned down to the lower shore. So that would be one of the things is, of course, starting the farm, keeping track, going through the whole process with zoning, et cetera. So that would be part of what she would be doing. And then also to further that is how do you partner with the commercial kitchen? So someone's growing food, then we can offer in that commercial kitchen that's just started classes on this is how you prepare, some of these foods that are more healthy. So that would be for the farmer. I'm hoping that would be a viable grant. And then, as you mentioned, the partnership, if I wanted to take that model and then, move it so that we could do that on other lower shore locations, in similar urban locations where access to healthy food and, cooking it would be important. So those things would qualify, correct?
Right. So for the partnership piece where you said, again, we wouldn't fund you just to go ahead and implement new farms, but if you're, again, trying things out in that process to see what works and what doesn't, then we would fund, then that would be eligible. But for the farmer grant, it would have to be the farmer that is applying and the one that should be the person who's writing the grant. Like it shouldn't be driven by you or the nonprofit. The whole project should be driven by the farmer.
Yeah, I'm curious because I think I saw the farmer on here, but I wasn't sure if she's been able to attend. So I wanted to make sure I asked that question.
Okay.
If she's not on here.
I'm here.
And you also asked about time.
Okay.
Sorry.
There she is.
Good.
Hi, Shauna.
I'm here. Hi, y'all.
Great. You also asked about time for software development for farmers. If we expand, create an app, and then test with other farmers, yes, that's all eligible.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I have a farmer that's doing microgreens and expanding into creating an app for mushroom growers, or hoping to expand and then, expand again into something like what Ag Squared used to be, if there's any old school farmers from the early 2000s that know that app. So I was just curious if this is indeed something that they can continue. I can, just sort of facilitate if they have any questions and again, say, get on these meetings. But I just wanted to double check that indeed software and development is part of the things that are covered.
Yes, it is. And again, it should be all stuff that the farmer will be driving, working with as part of their project, not a service you're going to offer to assist with.
I wish I had all of that talent.
Vander, but I'm going to keep going, but did you have something you wanted
I have a quick one for Jennifer specifically, a follow-up on your plan. When you're talking about scaling that further out, where you're creating the network of people training things, you could also consider at that point looking at our PDP program or professional development program. That's a train the trainer focused program. So if you're really trying to get people out and creating a network to train people, that program funds the training of the people who will go out and do training.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. This is, this whole process is new for me. I'm on another grant now. So this is good. So I appreciate that. PDP. Thank you.
Yep.
Can you guys drop that PDP resource in the chat? Because our organization is doing something almost probably pretty identical to Jennifer as well.
I'll absolutely. But it's also they are just moving like the application window for that one. It just closed, so we'll be opening back up again next year.
in the spring for those are larger grants and they require pre-proposals, and it's a little bit more of a process, just so you're aware.
Thank you.
Uh,
When next year do those come out, in the spring or winter? When should we look for those?
The pre-proposals are due in the summer, actually, and then full proposals are due in the fall, and then awards would be March 2026 at that point.
Thank you
Awards
both.
start March 2026. Let's see. So the next question I see is this eligible for agricultural research done with international collaboration? International collaboration is fine as long as it's necessary to the grant. If so first of all, the research should be looking to help farmers in the Northeast region. First of all, so just to make sure that you're not looking to solve crop production problems in Africa. It needs to be in the Northeast region. And now the international collaboration. So if you have people from overseas that you would like to involve in your project, that's absolutely fine. If you're going to want to be flying them back and forth, their reviewers will really want to see that necessity to approve funding something like that. If it's we had one project where or one proposal where they were requesting some consultations by these people in Australia to set something up here, and it wasn't clear that they needed that. You know, it wasn't clear that it wasn't something they could get from locally or in the Northeast region or in the US. So so that expense didn't get funded. So international collaboration is fine. It should be described really well though, because sometimes the word international does raise some flags, which I'm sure is why you asked this question. So just make sure you really explain it well and the need for it. Let's see, that's not a question for me. Is growing, and selling seedlings in a greenhouse considered a farmer? Yes, because you are producing agricultural products and selling them. So yeah, and definitely greenhouses are a really important part of the system. So we do fund a lot of greenhouse projects. Let's see, produce and sell for the $1,000. So Shania Price, you have I'm not sure if that's a question. Partnership program would be the only producing. I don't know. I'm not sure what the question is there. So if you would like to just let me know if you have a question that hasn't been answered yet there.
You already answered it. You said earlier.
I'm sorry.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah. I already made my $1,000.
Excellent. Let's see. If the farm is owned by a college, can the college apply for this grant? It does have $1,000, over $1,000 in commercial sales, and is integrated in the region, focused on sustainability practices. So yes, so the farmer actually would be like, maybe it's the farm manager or a farm employee from that farm on the institution can apply for the grant, and the institution would be the ones we actually contract with, because that's where the invoices would come from. So that's yes, that is a yes, and that is one of the situations where we would need one of those forms. It's called a grant commitment form that needs to be completed by the farmer who's applying for the grant plus the institution to authorize that they are standing behind it. Let's see. I see something about NATEM's AI note taking. Maybe I don't know what that's about, but maybe Vander, you could look at that. It's quiet in here. Are you all done? No, we're not done. Then I see our post-harvest projects to help develop new markets considered. Yes, yes. Anything having to do with marketing, business, that whole aspect. It's not just production. It's post-production, pre-production, education, we fund all kinds of topics and all kinds of farms. So as long as it is something that could help with the sustainability of agriculture, and by that I mean focusing on one of the themes like environmental health, profitability, which is what that would be, conservation of natural resources, enhanced farm labor, improved quality of life for farmers and consumers. So yeah, that definitely post-harvest projects are definitely considered. I'm a Anna, I think I'm a value-added farmer. I don't sell my herbs dried. I make products with them. So how do you want me to prove I make $1,000 on raw commodity? We're not worried about any form of proof, Anna. And if you make products with stuff that you are producing, then that qualifies. So and it sounds like you do.
Unfortunately, yes.
All right. Now I'm at the end of the chat. Does anybody else have any other questions? Or I could, there are a couple things that were asked. Well, I'd like to talk about technical advisors a little bit because there was a question about that.
There is
we
one
talked about-
from Judy there.
What are the qualifications for the greenhouse if it was built in 2024 with sales under $1,000? Oh, thank you, Judy. I'm sorry, I missed that one up there. If the greenhouse was built in 2024 and the greenhouse, so if you're a brand new business, you built the greenhouse this year, you didn't have $1,000 worth of sales, you would not be eligible. But next year you could apply if you continue, which if you've built a greenhouse, I'm sure you will. However, if you have a farm and you are growing or producing other products, it doesn't have to be the greenhouse products. Other products, like say you for a couple of years you were growing tomatoes and you were selling those from your front yard and you were making over $1,000 in a summer from that, then you would qualify. Or if you have sheep and you sold $1,000 worth of wool, you'd qualify for the project about the greenhouse, is what I'm saying. So it doesn't have to be, the commodity doesn't have to be the same as for your project as what you've been making your money from. Does that help? So technical advisors, we do have a document on our website.
A follow-up there from Judy.
Oh, sorry. If you sold produce from other farmers in a farm stand, unfortunately not, because they wouldn't have been doesn't sound like it would have been stuff that you specifically have grown. So yeah, that would not qualify. I hope that helps. So we do have a document on our website for a guide for technical advisors. That's super helpful. I recommend everybody to take a look at it, and maybe Vander or Emma, you could pop that in the chat. The role of the advisor is to provide support to you as the grant applicant. And as I said before, somebody who has the qualifications, who has the experience and the knowledge that will help your project. They can help you design your project. They can review your proposal before you submit it. They can assist with outreach for your project, because part of the project, the proposal, is that you need to have a plan to share the results of your project. Because our main goal is to impact farmers in the Northeast. So the outreach will allow that to happen. Your results will be able to help other farmers. And they can just troubleshoot issues that come up during your project And it can be an extension educator, a university researcher, a private consultant, a veterinarian, if you're working with livestock, NRCS or other government staff. It can be a nonprofit or a for-profit agricultural service provider. Any other technical expert, as I said before, it could even be another farmer has a lot of expertise in what you're doing. Really anybody who has experience and knowledge in your topic area. Now, if you are working for a nonprofit organization, say, and we do ask that, or reviewers do like to see you use somebody from outside of your organization. So if you are working for a nonprofit organization and you're the farm manager, and then there's another farm person in the organization who has marketing expertise or something, you can have them as your technical advisor technically, but I will say that reviewers like it more when your technical advisor is outside of your organization. In other words, bringing in more perspective, the larger for the larger picture of who the project might be serving. So again, take a look at that document, and when you approach a technical advisor or somebody who you would like to ask to be your technical advisor, you could provide them with that document because it will really help them understand what it means to be a technical advisor, like what this would require of them. And technical advisors can be included in your budget, so you can pay this person in your budget if that's helpful. And I also just wanted to mention that's pretty much the first thing. Once you have an idea of what you want to do, that should be the next thing you do is you go and find your technical advisor, get them involved right from the beginning. Sometimes it takes a little while to find somebody. Sometimes it takes a little while to get a response from somebody. So I would suggest doing that right away. I see there's a question above that I don't want to lose. So Vander, remind me about that one, about the climate smart question. I'm not sure if I understand that, but how many advisors can you have? You need to have one specific technical advisor who will be listed, but you can have as many advisors as you want, but the rest of them would just be listed as what the system calls cooperators, but that's a collaborator. And all those people we would like to have submit a letter of commitment. And is there a form letter we can use by the technical advisor? And I'm assuming you're asking if there's a form letter that they can send in that is their letter of commitment. And we don't provide anything, and sometimes people do that. They provide themselves something for people to send in, but we would like to hear from the technical advisor themselves how they see their role in the project and what their qualifications are. Anna, you asked, can it be the person who is helping creating this machine, or does it have to be someone separate? And actually, it would be better for it to be somebody, it could be either of those. I was gonna say it would probably be better to be someone separate who can help the troubleshooting of the whole thing, but you know, in this case, I feel like it could be either somebody who's helping create the machine or somebody who's just got the expertise that you need. Okay, so I think that's all the questions I see about technical advisor. Then there was the question, can you explain the climate smart for folks that use greenhouses? I don't know what that refers to. Climate smart. Shania, do you have any other information? Like, do you want to expand on that?
The way that I understood it was that we couldn't necessarily ask for a grant for the use of a greenhouse, but we could use it in a sense where we were doing like research on, like right now I'm doing a project under Tuskegee And we're basically tracking all the information from the time of day, from seed to process in our greenhouse.
So I'm not sure what what you're referring to by climate smart, but you can use our funding for any aspect of greenhouse growing. And if you're doing a project where, so say on your farm, you don't typically use a greenhouse, but you want to do some testing on seedlings that would require a greenhouse for the project, you can ask for money to rent greenhouse space. We can't build a greenhouse. We can't give you money to build a greenhouse, but we can give you money to rent greenhouse space from somebody. Not sure if that answers your question.
No, not really, but somebody put it in the chat. We had a meeting a couple of days ago about that, and they didn't go into it into great detail, and I missed the link, but somebody just put it up. I actually have two grants that I'm currently using. One on my personal farm and one at the farm that I do research for.
Okay, well, I will take a look at that website and see what's going on there so I can know for next time. Thank you, Judy, for providing that.
Thank you, Judy.
Let's see, what if the farm's own product and product from other farms is sold distributed, e.g. a food hub? Acceptable so long as the applicant creates more than $1,000 in product? Need we only budget for and track the portion of that work that is directly produced by our farm? Let's see, so if the farm's own product and other product from other farms is sold through, for example, a food hub, that is that farm would be eligible, and a project topic around that would be eligible, as long as the applicant themselves produce and sell over $1,000 worth in product. Oh, and so if the project is for the whole food hub, it's your project, so you would, all the expenses that you want to use for that are eligible. You don't need to do any prorating based on that fact that you work with other farms and sell with other farms. So that's just a straightforward thing. You don't need to do any prorating there, if I'm understanding that correctly. And then here's a great question. Can the farmers pay themselves for their time? And how do you recommend how? And can the farmer utilize a number of technical advisors? Okay, so I think I answered that one already about, yes, you can use a number of technical advisors. You need to choose one to be your main technical advisor, and then the others can be collaborators. Now, as far as farmers paying themselves, we highly encourage you to do that and to give yourself a fair wage. We do not recommend a specific amount, although we do share the amount that we pay farmers for helping us in our reviews and other aspects of our program. And I believe it's $56 an hour we're up to now. Emma, maybe you could confirm that for me. And $51.60, thank you. And so, yes, we highly recommend that you pay yourself and pay any other farmers who are involved in the project specifically. We really encourage that.
What was the number again?
$51.60 is the price that we pay farmers, but whatever is whatever they may normally get if they do any outside work, or whatever you feel is a fair price in your area. Yes, so Vander just launched another poll. I'll keep answering questions until the 1 o'clock mark, but can we pay the advisors? Yes, you can pay them on the project. Any other specific questions? There is a question in the proposal about working with your community. And I did just want to touch on that because while we do, we went over, talked a lot about eligibility of farmers. I did just want to mention that we also encourage farmers from marginalized communities to apply, or if you work with those communities. And there's a question in the call for proposals that asks about historically underserved farming communities. And we ask you to check off the boxes of those communities that you might be working with, so you can start thinking about that. And also then we ask you to describe how you work with them, how you engage with them normally, and how you would through this project. And a big part of that too is sometimes maybe you don't work specifically with an historically underserved community, but when you start thinking about it, think about ways that the information that you are going to be producing could actually help some underserved communities, and then specific ways to share that. But we would really just like to get a sense of how you are working with these communities, and also give you some inspiration to work with these communities if you don't already, and to really think about a plan to incorporate them. Not just a blanket way to, yep, this information will be good for everybody, but to really specifically think about how it could help these communities, and then how you could engage or share your results specifically with those communities. One more question from Anna. How do you deal with when you are in the middle of the grant and you need to pivot your budget because what you are doing isn't working? Yes, good, excellent question. Oh my gosh, there's still so much I could be sharing. So make sure if you're leaving soon, make sure you come back to one of our other Q&As. We've got 3 more this month. Yes, Anna, you can alter your budget. You would contact me as the program manager, and you would say, I want to change, this wasn't working, so we'd like to do this instead. Can we shift the money from X to Y? And, I would talk about it with you. And if it's reasonable, absolutely, you can do that. And if you need to pivot your plan of work, what your activities are going to be. For instance, today I had somebody email me and say, we were going to do a webinar, but we're finding that the social media is reaching all of people a lot more effectively. So they wanted to shift to doing that. And that included shifting some funding around as well. So we're open to all kinds of things. Changes are just fine. We just ask that you stay with your original objectives, because that's what the reviewers are approving. So we just want to make sure that your goals and objectives stay the same. And otherwise, there's a lot of flexibility in that. And things come up, challenges come up. You could have, again, weather events, or maybe somebody gets sick or something, you lost some employees, so you couldn't do, and then we can just adjust the timeline. I'll work with you ways to help address any challenges that you come up with, because we just want you to be successful. And success doesn't mean that you get the answers that you're looking for. Success just means that you're able to go through the process and learn from it, and share those lessons you've learned with other people. And yes, Anna, you can pay your employees. We don't have a going rate for that. If you have employees, you're already paying them an hour wage, whether it's hourly, I don't know, but whatever you normally pay them is what you should be requesting. 12:59. Any last question? And again, please join us again next week. It'll be on Wednesday next week, lunchtime again, noon to 1. And we can continue more. And also feel free to contact me directly with any questions. We will be providing this recording, as well as a list of the questions asked and the answers, and categorized, so you can look up, eligibility, technical advisors, or whatever. So hopefully that will be helpful also. Who do we contact? Oh, you can contact me. My name is on the call for proposals. There's a, or vendor, maybe you could pop that email address for the farmer grants, or Emma in the chat. And I'm all over the website, so you can find my contact information, candice.huber@uvm.edu. I'm at the University of Vermont. And yes, all the sessions will have the recordings and questions recorded. Do you have information regarding the reviewer job roles at SARE? Yes, you could contact me directly, and I can put you in touch with the person who manages that. All right, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.